A very warm welcome to all of you, myself, Dr. Abhishek Kumar Singh, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Management Studies at Ramanujan College, University of Delhi. Today, I am going to discuss about the holistic development among the institutions under National Education Policy 2020. The holistic development under the National Education Policy has made the provision for the institutional restructuring and the consolidation. By 2040, all the higher education institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions, each of which aims to have 3,000 or more students. The institutional restructuring is also one of the key provisions among this National Education Policy, providing as a multidisciplinary institutions. The second one under the institutional restructuring is that there shall be by 2030 be at least one large multidisciplinary higher education institution or a university under every district. The multidisciplinary research and the education is the main target under the National Education Policy. The main aim will be to increase the gross enrollment ratio in a higher education, including the vocational education, from 26.3% to 50% by 2035. The another institutional restructuring and the consolidation is under the higher education system, including the professional and vocational education. There has been provision made under the higher education. The traditional learning must be accompanied with the various vocational education subject to each and every individual student, so that they must create or they must generate the skill development programs. Under the National Education Policy, there is a provision has been made for establishing and operation of Academic Bank of Credits in Higher Education Regulation 2021. Under the Academic Bank of Credit is one of the new concept bring under this National Education Policy in the higher education. Suppose like we have a bank account, so whatever the amount we deposit or we withdraw, it reflects the total amount in our bank account. Same in the case of education institution, if a student is learning and get admission in the first year and he passed the first year and get enrolled in the second year, but somehow in some unhappening the student has to be dropped out at the second year. So under this academic bank of credit, the student who learn and pass the 2-year programs, like as a first year and the second year, the credit is to be given under this academic bank credits. So after 4 years or 5 years or the 10 years, the student again wants to start this study, so he is not going to start from the first year. He may start his enrollment from the third year. So the academic credit, whatever he has gained from the last study of the 2-year, is going to be included in this third year program. Academic Credit Bank is based on the principle of distributed and flexible teaching learning that allows a student to learn as per his or her convenience. The dropping his education midway and pick it up again as per their choice and convenience. This will also address the curtailing the dropouts ratio while also improving the gross enrollment ratio. So under the National Education Policy, the provision of academic bank credit is also been made. If we talk about the phases of admission under the National Education Policy are: teachers in a general do not consider continuous and effective teaching student interaction outside the classroom as important. So the teachers must consider the each and every student interaction as per their requirement, as per their suggestion, as per their ideas of their development at the time of admission. Prevailing attitude among the teaching community that students from the disadvantaged social group lack motivation and real interest in academic work is reflected in pattern of student-teachers interaction. The another phase of admission is the women students are less likely to get the opportunity to interact with the teachers. This is very true, like the various ladies student or the women student, they get very less opportunity to get interact or to get solve their problems from the teachers. Lower share of the women faculty members in some of the discipline also exacerbate the situations. So there has been practice has been made to include more and more women teachers also, so that there may not be any kind of gender biasness among the appointment of teachers. Now another one is the choice based credit system, CBCS. The choice based credit system provides an opportunity for the student to choose the courses from prescribed courses, comparing core, elective, minor or skill based courses. The courses can be evaluated following the grading system, which is considered to be the better than the conventional marking system. The choice based credit system provides the credits for choosing their subject. There are various advantages for the choice based credit system. The first one is shift in focus from the teachers centric to student centric education. Under the national education policy, the student centric education must be prepared. A student may undertake as many credits as they can cope up with their given semester if they fail in one or more courses. The choice-based credit system allows the student to choose interdisciplinary and intradisciplinary courses, skill-oriented papers, and more flexibility for the students. There are various kinds of the disadvantage of this choice-based credit system. The first one is difficult to estimate the exact marks. The exact marks is difficult to estimate because of grading system. The another disadvantage of this credit system is workload of the teachers may fluctuate. The another disadvantage is the demand of the good infrastructure for dissemination of education, since the government also tries to strengthen the infrastructure development of the institution under this national education policy. The outline of this choice-based credit system are, there are the various outlines has been made, like as the core courses has been developed, and the second one is the elective courses. The student may choose as per their requirement from the elective courses. It may be the DSC or other GE. Like the discipline specific elective courses, also various papers has been developed, and the second one is the dissertation and the project work is also to be fulfilled by the student. And under this elective courses, the last one is the general elective papers is also been developed under this national education policy. And the last one is AEC as ability enhancement courses. So increasing their learning ability and the skill development, so papers is also been developed under the ability enhancement courses. As earlier I was talking about the accreditations. Accreditation of institutions. There may be a meta-accrediting body called as the National Accreditation Council, NAC. Accreditation of the institution will be based on primarily on the basis norms and the public self-disclosure, good governance and the outcomes, and it will be carried out by an independent ecosystem of accrediting institution supervised and overseen by the NAC, that is National Accreditation Council. The task to function as a recognized accreditor shall be awarded to an appropriate number of institutions by NAC. Like as the present NAC also provide the marking scheme for the institution's rating. In the short term, the reboost the system of graded accreditation shall be established, which will specify phased benchmarks for higher education institution to achieve set level of equality, self-governance and autonomy. In turn, all the higher education institutions will aim through their institutional development plans to attain the highest level of accreditation over the next 15 years, thereby eventually aims to function as self-governing degree granting the institution and the class years. Under the National Education Policy, the professional standard setting bodies is also to be established under this education policy. The professional council such as the Indian Council for the Educational Research, Veterinary Council of India, National Council for the Teachers Education, Council of Architecture, National Council of Vocational Education and Training, etc. These are the various institutions. They will act as a professional standard setting bodies. While developing the various kind of the courses, these bodies develop their standards and the requirement and the eligibility criteria of particular subject. These bodies will play a vital role in a higher education system and will be invited to be the member of General Elective Council. This body, after restructuring the as PSSBs, will continue to draw a curricula, lay down academic standard and coordinate between the teaching, research and extension of their domain discipline as the member of GEC. Thus, these PSSBs would also set a standard or the expectations in a particular field of learning and practice while having no regulatory role. All higher education institutions will decide how their educational programs respond to these standards among other consideration and would also be able to reach out for their support from these standard setting bodies or PSSBs if needed. Under the National Education Policy, it has been tried to curbing commercialization of education, since the provision has been made and tried to provide free and basic education to each and every individual of the society. The multiple mechanism with checks and balance will combat and stop the commercialization of higher education system in India. All the education institutions will be held to similar standard of audit and disclosure as a non-for-the-profit entity. So, audit has also been mandatory for the education institution to disclose as a not-for-profit entity. There will be a transparent public disclosure of all these financial matters with the resource of grievance handling mechanism to the general public. Under this, all the higher education institutions, public or private, shall be treated as par within the regulatory regime. There may not be any kind of a discrimination among the public institutions as well as the private institutions. There will be a common national guidelines for all the legislative acts that will form a private higher education institutions. These common guidelines will cover the good governance, financial stability and security, educational outcome and transparency of disclosure. Under the commercialization of education, the provision is tried to be made as a fees discriminating mechanism will ensure the reasonable and recovery of cost while ensuring that the higher education institution discharge their social obligations. It is the social responsibility of the higher education institutions to provide a basic education to uneducated or privileged students who are not the part of the mainstream. The another one is the institutional development plan. So, institution must also be developed under this national education policy so that the provision is also to be made. All the higher education institutions in turn will display a committed to the institutional excellence, engagement with their local communities and highest standard of financial probability and accountability. Under institutional education development plan, each institution will make a strategic development plan on the basis of which institutions will develop initiative, access their own progress and reach the goals set thereby, which could then become the basis for the further public funding. Under the institutional development program, it is also prepared with the joint participation of board member, institutional leaders, faculties, students and the staff. So, under the national education policy, the government has tried to make the holistic development for the student as well as the institutions so that the result outcome would be the best and beneficial for each and everyone living into the society. With all this, I thank you from my side. Thank you.